So we should be live. Welcome, guys. Welcome to another episode of Success Starts with a Plan. I think now we're on episode number 12, if I'm not mistaken. So that's a good run so far that
Hmm.
we've consistently been coming out here and getting you guys some content. Today's topic is going to be interesting. I'm here with Emma Charles and Renee Sullivan. So we are definitely really excited to talk about today because um, over the last few months, for sure, I have seen, I'm not sure about the others, but I definitely have seen people jumping from one, program to the other. Various reasons, hype, trend, whatever you want to call it, that people are picking up on. So this might seem like we are going off topic, but as we have spoken about the plan multiple times and shown you that there are various elements that are involved, it also, we try to put multiple streams of income to it. Now, that might be overcomplicating, as some people might think that it's overcomplicating the whole sales process, because if you look at a sales process, the generic thing that somebody would say is always, pinpoint one thing, get that sale, and then if you want in the future to move to the next thing, go to the next thing. But the way we do it is kind of a hub and spoke model, which is basically getting everybody to one place rather than, you know pushing them out into different areas. So even though there are multiple streams of income, we're gonna share a little bit why it might be confusing, it might push away from the normal crowd, but the plan that we have in place, or the plan that is structured the way it is a long-term plan. So it lasts for a long time, and all of us are literally testimonies of the fact that we are here for a longer term rather than jumping from one thing to the next. So I'm going to leave the floor to Renee and Emma, and then I will definitely jump in, guys.
Do you want me to go first?
Go ahead, go ahead.
Yeah, no. What you're saying is absolutely true, because there is a method to what people might think is madness in having a lot of different things, but the reason being is, there's a term called one trick pony, and Rob has used it in the past, and when you it's great if you can focus on one thing. However, in the world of internet marketing, if something happens to that business, or anything can happen to anything, no matter how stable, how long the company's been going, sometimes that can happen. And if your income is based on pretty much one source, you're left with no income. That literally happened to me. Okay, it happens to it's happened to many people. So the way that we've structured our plan is to actually combine things together so that it's synergistic, so that it actually works together to not only be your business but promote your business at the same time. And there's a whole part of that. So it might seem like a lot, but it's really not. What it takes is focus on, number one, yourself, and learning the process, because the only way that it is going to work, whether you do have a one trick pony business where you have one thing, or you have a system like what we talk about, there's learning involved. There's learning in what you're doing, what your business is in general, what your product or service is, and there's learning in how you're actually going to promote that. If you have a system that we do, and it starts with a plan, it's all combined together, it's all part of the process. So that's what makes it make sense. And this has taken, I'm going to use myself as an example. This has taken me several years to understand and put together. We've myself personally, I've gone through things that just didn't work. I've gone through things that were great things, that I've kept. So what we've tried to do is take out some of that guesswork into that. Now, again, there's always going to be a new thing, and sometimes it does make sense to actually add that new thing, because it's a great element to the system that you have in place. Sometimes adding a new thing for a system or a person in particular is not sometimes jumping is not a good thing. So the point is, we're here to actually help you with that process. If you have some guidance with that, it makes it a lot easier. If you might think something is great for your business, but maybe it is, maybe it isn't. Okay. Or you might see something works for someone, but maybe for you and your system, it doesn't, it might not. So that's why we have these forums for you to actually, number one, ask, and reach out to people and have a community to reach out to, say, hey, you know what, I saw this, what do you know about, or what can you help with? Again, you yourself, you're the business owner. It's ultimately your decision. Okay. What we're trying to do in this system of adding, taking away, whatever, we're actually trying to help. Number one, we don't want you to make a decision based on no facts and no research whatsoever. And we don't want you wasting money. Okay. It might happen anyways, just because we never really know what can happen with a product, a service, or a system. But we're basically here to make it a little bit easier, because we've pioneered we've been some kind of pioneers in the process, and we want to make it actually not so painful, I guess, if you want to say that.
If I can jump in just at this
Absolutely.
point, what Renee said is very much been exactly what we need to actually touch upon. But more than anything else, it's also because the it's not about the product. So it's not about the system, is, as we always speak about, it's not about the products but the elements that make up. It's like pillars, you have to put them down. How, whether you use, I don't know, a certain kind of material and another kind of material, doesn't really matter. You're creating that pillar. Okay, so the products can change if it's congruent, but those elements are the key elements that we are focusing on with the plan. So that's something I would touch upon, because again, Renee mentioned it. You can switch. It's not like you don't need to have, or you can have even one program which has like one solid program which has multiple elements, but those elements cover the foundations that you need in order for it to last for a long term. So that's where you do your, as we say, your due diligence. Look at those things that make sense for you for the long term. Sorry, you can continue. I just wanted
No,
to.
that's really what I wanted to say. No, what you're saying is, that's what I was actually alluding to, is the fact that when you have a system, it's okay if you need to replace or add something. So no, go ahead. Go ahead. You can. I'll bring it back to you.
I think the thing is as well that sometimes people need to bear in mind that not everybody's at the same point. So we also have different things within the system that people can dip in and out of. I know we've got different funnels and lots of different programs, lots of different things, so that no matter where you're at in your journey, you can be a part of it and start to build something. Whether you can afford £20, £50, £100, £1,000, whatever stage you're at, there's something there for everybody in that journey, so that they can start where they're comfortable at starting and develop and build themselves up and get as involved as they want to be. And that's always been great for me, is that there's always been a plan there to take people along the road that they need to be on, whichever stage of the journey they're at, and what they can afford, and their interests as well. I mean, different people have different interests and engage with different things, and I know that part of the journey for me has been putting together different pieces of portfolio. I mean, offline I have business ventures, and I have property, and I have all sorts of things. We build gold and cryptocurrencies, and there's a knowledge, and there's a whole range of things, so that people can take whatever they're interested in, they can delve into that element, they can learn with a great community and ask questions and do all of those things that we've spoken about, and they can do it with confidence that they're not overextending themselves. They can put themselves into a place where they're comfortable, to then start to take themselves out of their comfort zone, but do it in quite a managed and a controlled way, so that it's not just a massive shock to the system. And I think that's really important, because otherwise, if you overextend yourself too much, that's when things go horribly wrong. So at least we can do it in a managed way, and we can take people along a journey where it's relatively safe. Business is always a risk, we know that, but at least it's in a fairly safe environment. Do you know what I mean? Does that make sense?
Completely. And in fact, that's one of the things also that you mentioned, which is super clear, or rather that people also get confused. So I'm happy that you did mention it. Is that when you think about traditional business, when you think about a plan for your life, when you think about how our parents or whoever, grandparents, whoever is living and doing things, at the end of the day, there were always multiple streams of income. There's nothing just one. But you speak about just one thing. So everyone has a assumption, let's say, that you're just doing that one thing there, but there are other things happening in before it was the bank, wherever it is, it doesn't really matter. But if you apply that same simplistic, well, I would say decades old mindset to what we're doing online, then it becomes really clear to understand that we're not moving in some strange or weird direction. It's still the same concept. It's just in a different time, in a different element than it was before. And that's something that for me I always relate to. And I guess with everyone, if you haven't read the book Rich Dad Poor Dad, go and read Rich Dad Poor Dad, because this is specifically what is mentioned as a mindset. But at the end of the day, it's the same exact principle, right? Your goal or your target is a certain lifestyle, a certain pattern, and how we reach there, having an online business, having this plan, having the elements in place is one way. And maybe if we break it down this way, you'll get the fact that having multiple elements in place is important for us to move forward as well. So, for example, I recently, and Renee knows this, I recently switched my primary business. Well, recently now it's a few months, so maybe 3-4 months have passed by, but I recently switched my primary business because of the fact that I wanted a different element, because I was in a different place in my journey, and I said, no, this fits me, this fits my personality, this fits what I'm doing at the moment, and I will resonate with the right people in that way.
And let's not forget though as well that when we're building these channels of how to capture leads and how to engage with people and talk to people, it's so easy to end up spattergunning it, to sending people in all different directions, send them here, send them there, send them. We're sending them in one direction. We're funneling maybe to 2 or 3 different lead capture pages, or URLs or whatever, a few different links, but we're not taking 20 different things and trying to just ping people. We're taking them in one direction, and they can pick maybe one element out of that direction. Maybe they can encompass the whole system, however they choose to embrace it. We know that our job is to take people in that direction and then teach our people to do the same thing, because that's really, really important, to learn how to duplicate and how to take people on that journey so that they can start to see some benefits and some rewards. And rather than trying to teach them really, really complicated and over exaggerated methods and just confuse people, at least we can take them on this simple journey of pointing them in one direction, get them to focus, get them to pour their energy into taking people where they need to be taken on this journey, because that's what it's all about. It's all about the journey. It's all about the development, developing streams of income, developing email lists, developing contacts, developing relationships, developing knowledge, developing yourself. It's all about that development journey. So if we can take people down a very simple path rather than this crazy, fire it all over, then it just simplifies it for people, and it kind of helps them to get into that zone and on that journey. That's what I've always found anyway.
Yeah, I don't know if Renee wants to jump in a bit, then I'll let her.
The only thing I wanted to say, when Emmett was talking about different things, a lot of times when people are searching, and I think this is what you're alluding to, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, Emma, is that they see so many different things because they're on so many different websites, and work from home and do this and do that, and this will help you. So that alone can be confusing in and of itself. And then once you're actually involved, if you are on if you're following several different people, sometimes like something that they're doing might be a little bit different than something that someone else is doing. The bottom line is you actually want to funnel when Emma was talking about putting them in one direction, if you could teach them, okay, yeah, there might be different things going on, and some of them are going to work and some of them might not resonate with you, but at least direct them to one place. And that's the element of the system that we're talking about. And mainly your hub is your whatever you choose for your marketing system to put that in place. But I could see how people might think that's confusing if they haven't really processed what a system actually looks like. It could look like so many different things because they're bombarded with so many different things if they're continually searching and searching and searching and searching and don't know to focus. So is that what you were talking about, Emma? I just want to make sure I was understanding what you were.
Yeah, and it is, and it's make it. People get confused about systems and programs and this and that. Internet marketing is confusing place, and you only really start to be successful and to make anything of the things that you're putting your time and effort in when A, you understand what you're doing, B, you get focused, and then you can teach other people how to do it. So you really do have to kind of do everything that you can do to make it as simple as possible for people and to give them the time and the space to understand exactly what they're getting themselves into and find their feet and how they do it and all these things, because it's so difficult. I think the great thing that we've got is that we do have, it's not about the individual programs with anything that we do. It's always about a system, about a method of working, about like I say, taking people on this journey and this process. But I think I think you're dead right. It's about the least confusion as possible, while people are learning how to do what they need to do. Do you understand what I mean? It's so tricky. It's so tricky, but it's so important. It's so massively important, and it's really important to make sure that the different things that you're concentrating on make some sort of sense, or have some sort of alignment, have some sort of they fit together, that there's a flow, that there's a purpose, so that the things you're working on, you're invested in whatever you're doing, you're invested in and believe in the things that you're putting together, the things that you're promoting. It's just so important that it makes sense to you and that you're getting involved in the right things.
Yeah, and that journey is different for you, Emma, for Renee, for myself, for everybody. So that's the beauty of putting it in place. And at the end of the day, if you think about it from even or not really think about it, if you see it from the traditional sales standpoint of sending somebody to one page, right? Which should be the sales page in that sense. We're sending people to a page where we are talking and then talking about everything. So it's still going to one page, and then they decide to go further or not. That's up to them. We're sending them to us. So we're redirecting them to a system that talks about our journey, which is different, which is unique, where you don't know who's going to resonate with you. So, that itself is very, attracting to a lot of people, because they're attracted to the fact that, okay, this is different. But trust me, I know for a fact, personally, I've experienced it where even going out to solo ad vendors and sending them this funnel, and they look at it and they say it's too complicated. So, well, my follow-up series is not sending them to 10 different things or 5 different things or 3 different, it's sending it to one page. So I'm not sending them to different opportunities at the end of the day. They are seeing the elements and it's being explained by me, but I'm sending them to one page. So what's the difference between what you're doing on a daily basis with shifting from product to product or whatever the kind of method people do, then this is upfront, transparent. You have it all. You make a choice. Let's go on.
I think when you look as well, though, when you look at the system, whichever thing you're working on, there is always a flow to our system. There is always a path. There's always a very clear. If you think about it, it's very logical. The programs fit together. They're there for a purpose. Some things are there to give you some residual income. Some things are there to diversify and build a portfolio. Some things are there for instance. It makes sense, though. The whole point and the whole purpose is to take people, I keep saying it, take people on a journey, to take them through the flow. And I mean, I've always been of the opinion that you are better off taking them through a sequence of events, but within one simple funnel, one simple system, one simple, like you say, they go onto a single page and they get taken through this sequence and through this journey of things that fit together in a very clear way. And it's really obvious why they've been put together and how they sit together, rather than taking one program and then, oh, maybe this isn't working. Oh, I'll send them to another one. I'll send them to another one. I'll send them to another one. At least when you have it all packaged together in a system, as you're talking about different things, you've got different ways to communicate with people. When you're sending them emails, you can send them to different parts and different pages and explain different things according to, certain topics or conversations, or it gives you more of a talking point. There's less chance for things to get stale. You've got more chance to engage with people in a variety of different ways. So I've always found it a really great way to work, as well as taking some of the risk out of it, like we've said, because you can swap elements in and out and you're not left with that one stream of income, which has always been, I've been caught in exactly the same way as you, Renee, and I've learned I would never just build one business. Never, ever again would I just build one single business.
Yep.
Never.
And to add what you just said, Emma, if your funnel is set up in a way that you're actually educating people in your videos through that process, or whatever presentation is, it's literally instructing them on why they need to click the next button, or why they need the next part, and that kinds of things. That is actually teaching them, if they've actually gone through it. And again, you want the right people to be in your funnel anyways. If they're going to take the time to actually watch the videos and actually click on the buttons that you say to click on, for next and stuff like that, they're literally, if they're a beginner, they're learning that process while they're going through your funnel. And again, it's going to take more than one time. Okay. Not a new person is not going to go through your funnel one time and get it. Okay. Let's just be clear here. Right. I don't care how simple your funnel is. It's going to take more than one time. Even if they go through that funnel several times in a day. Okay. It's going to at least take that. Okay. And again, I don't want to make people sound stupid, because people are not stupid. Okay. It's just that this is new to them. So that whole process, if you can go through that and educate people in that sales funnel, you are far better off getting someone who's going to be like, oh, okay, now I'm kind of getting it. I get why I need to click this next button. Okay. If you have people, and again, I learned this by many times, and I think I talked about this last week in our actual webinar last week, is that I've actually had people respond in an email to my funnel that I've literally filtered out and said, maybe this isn't for you based on the questions that you're asking me. You might want to consider something other than online marketing. If they can't figure out how to click a link, if they can't figure, and again, I don't want to make it sound like people shouldn't do this, but honestly, this is not for everybody. And I don't want to scare people away, but if you can't do basic skills, and maybe it was a different webinar I was on, but if you can't do basic skills of clicking on things and going from one thing to the next and remaining focused, then maybe this isn't for you. But the ones who actually do and start to get that process, those are the people who are going to continue to read your emails, continue to click on those buttons, and when they're ready, actually say, oh yeah, okay, I'm ready to do this. So my point basically is, in whatever system you have, whatever you choose, whether you need to replace things for whatever reason, if the structure remains this consistent and you're educating people, you're going to have far more success in converting those people. Okay, and that's what we want to make sure that people understand in the whole process. So that's really all I wanted to share with about
I mean, the fact that I wouldn't say you warm up your market well enough, but you do, because doing it this way. And as even Emma, pointed out, it's all about building relationships at the end of the day. And in this way, it's 100% sure, and I'm saying as a guarantee, the people who do end up creating that connection with you, those relationships last much longer and go on with that trust both ways. It's not just one way, it's reciprocal in that sense, for so much more time, and it's so much more satisfying going through elements. Like, I'm giving myself as an example, with Renee as well. Yes, I'm in business with her at the moment and everything else, but it has taken me what, 2 years, 3 years before I actually did it. So, but you always look at somebody who's like yourself. So this is something that I did right in the beginning, and I think that as a newbie, a lot of people should get this and not exaggerate it as if you're starting off. How long did it take you to actually start? How long did you, after how long did you say, okay, now I'm going to click the buy button? How many times did you watch the video? How many times did you go through it? Because I know for a fact that it took me a long time to actually get that and start. So if it took me a year to get started with something specific, and I'm not talking about, companies that come and go. No, I'm talking about something that is, that you have a passion for, you see, you believe, and you trust that you're going to take that decision to work and take action. And you're not just sitting on the sidelines and saying, okay, I bought something and that's it. That's just going to a store and buying, some milk if you want. That's what you would do. But no, in this case, it's actually taking action on doing something. How long did it take you? And if you can relate that time frame, and this is a huge tip in that sense, if you can relate that time frame and say, I'm going to wait that long, it's going to be beneficial for you. Because if you then put in the consistent action, you realize I need to put in the work. Because we're not saying it's going to come easy. We're not saying it's overnight. No, it's definitely, and I'm saying this now in all my videos also that I put up on YouTube, it's going to take work. It's going to be hard. You need to put in the effort, It's not overnight. But at the end of the day, if you emulate what is happening to yourself or see what's happening to yourself in the first place, you'll have the patience to actually achieve that result and not fall off and say, this is too much, or I have too many things. And maybe I'm going into a different topic altogether right now, but the point is still that you will not be confused about it, because you're focused on and you understand the whole picture. And when all three of us actually opened our eyes and understood even Rob's plan and why and everything else, I think everything clicked together in how can we do this in the right way at the right time where we are and our journey. And that's ultimately the best place to be in, because that's where you accept and you begin the journey that you actually need to.
I wanted to add that I followed someone for probably 3 years before I even got into online marketing, period. Okay. So it took me 3 years of following someone and seeing that person grow and succeed for me to say, okay, let me try this online marketing thing. Let me let me see what this is all about. Okay. And then in that process, started to learn. And then you mentioned Rob. Shout out to him, because it wasn't until I started following and working with him that I totally understood the value of what traffic was all about. and how and why and how you need to advertise your business. Because even though I had already started and I didn't know him when I first started, I actually met him afterward. It was talked about, advertising was talked about, don't get me wrong, but just sometimes the way a system is made just makes it more clear and makes it more understandable. And sometimes part of that process is I was actually ready to hear that information. But it took me about 6 months in online marketing. And again, I don't think I'm a dumb person, but it took me about 6 months being online to totally get the concept. Oh, now I understand why I need to actually buy a solo ad. Okay. And again, it might have been just the way it was explained prior, or I just had to have a different person saying it in a different way for me to say, oh, okay, now I've got it. And that's why I say, and I'm not saying that it's going to take everybody 6 months. Okay. I'm not saying it's going to take someone 3 years to make that decision. Every person's learning curve is different. What I'm saying is that, yes, I'm agreeing with both of you that it's a process, and it doesn't happen overnight, and it's going to take work. And I had to work on, number one, my mindset, but I also had to work on learning what these terms are in online marketing and why I actually needed a system. So that's why I wanted to add that in there, because everybody is on their own journey. Like Emma said, that's why I think it's so important in your system with those different elements that you have to have that education process in there and have it part of your system, where these webinars are included in that system, even though it's not in the sales funnel maybe, but at least in my email, I talk about, and we do weekly webinars, and we have our support group in Facebook. So this is where you can ask your questions and things like that. So you can share, okay, what are your challenges? So it's still part of the plan. It's still part of the system, even though it's not maybe in the sales funnel. It's part of the process.
And I always use the explanation. So I try and explain it this way. So the marketing funnel, sales system, page, whatever you want to call it, is like your shop. If you have got a traditional bricks and mortar business, that is your storefront. Your solo ads are your adverts in the paper, on the radio, on the telly, billboards outside, the sign you pay for up at the door. That's your advertising budget. You wouldn't dream in a million years of opening a shop and not driving traffic to it, not advertising your business. You wouldn't dream in a million years of creating, inventing a product and never trying to get it to market, never trying to put it in front of people. Online marketing is not a million miles away from traditional business. It's same thing, different platform. If people can try and get their heads around the concept that website, that marketing system, that's your shop. Within there are the products that you want to sell, and that is how you're packaging them up. That is the shop that you are putting those products in. That's your shelf and your storefront or your display cabinet or whatever else it may be. And your solo ads or your Facebook ads or your whatever it may be are the way that you're driving people, the footfall, to that display cabinet or shop or whatever else it may be. And I've explained like that a few times, because that's really what it boils down to. No matter what business you're in, you need to drive people to see the products, and you need to package up those products attractively. And that's all we're trying to do. We are trying to frame those products in the most attractive way possible and use ourselves to explain them, because we don't have salespeople in a shop front. We are the salespeople in the shop in front of the products, if you know what I mean. But that's, sometimes people fail, that they really struggle with the online concept. It must be so complicated. But if you put it in a real world context, that's exactly what it is, guys. It's just your shop front. It's your shop front or your display cabinet, and you are selling your products, and you are being that salesperson inside somebody's computer screen. And that's what you've got to focus on, learning how to sell. If somebody walked into your store and you were going to sell them a book or a pushchair or a piece of jewellery, that's what you're trying to do. You are getting them inside your front door of your shop and you are selling them the product, but you're doing it in a little box in front of you. That's all you're trying to do, package them up beautifully and deliver it in a way that people understand and make them want to engage and buy.
Yeah, and those skill sets that you learn along the way is so, I mean, this is applicable, like you have different kinds of business models as also Emma mentioned, right? So that is applicable what we are talking about, even to say something that has a product, like I'm going to give Amazon as a business, but say if you're running like a affiliate marketing to Amazon itself, right? It's still the same elements that we are talking about all come into place there as well. It's just a different platform, but it does, the elements are all the same. Then those pillars are not moving out at all. So it's, I think across all spheres, it's the same kind of pattern that you will find. I mean, even learning an instrument is the same kind of thing. You have to sell it to yourself. It's just different method, but you have to sell it to yourself at the end of the day. So I really think that, I mean, there are lots of key points, and I would suggest at this point of time, guys, if you're watching this live and you want to, wait for this webinar to get over and watch it again, I highly suggest to do that and take down some notes that we've mentioned, because there is still a space for you to connect with each one of us. Links are, by the way, all in the description, so you can always check that out. They're just basically to each one's profile, and then you can connect with them. But yeah, watch it again if you haven't, because we've spoken a lot about things, and I think our experiences, I don't know if you guys want to share some experiences in general. I know we have shared quite a bit, but something specific on whether you do get confused at times, or your thought process before putting those pieces of the puzzle together, if you guys want to share some experiences.
My experience that I want to share is, as far as my transition from the whole advertising thing to understanding it in online marketing terms. I had to transition from, hey, I want to make a flyer for my, like, I knew I had to advertise, that there was no question about that. I didn't connect the dots in the fact that the actual marketing system was going to make it easier for me. I was thinking, initially, okay, how does this marketing system help me make a flyer so that I can pass this out to people in my church? And, like that. And again, I don't consider myself, not smart, but I had to get out of that frame of mind and expand my horizons. And when I was actually connected with Rob, he just put it in terms, like Emma said, that made sense. He's like, well, your flyer is your marketing system. It's it's a different digital way to do it, and you could just do it faster and to many more people that way. You don't have to mail it out, or you don't have to personally walk in and hand it to people. It's already there for you if you use that system that way. But that's really how it had to be explained, again, in a different term, so that I understood, oh, now I know why a solo ad makes sense. Now I know why possibly using this traffic exchange. Like, I was using the traffic exchange, but I didn't see the connection of why I needed to continue to do that over again. In addition to, my other offline efforts. And again, I'm not saying there's anything wrong with, it benefits you to do more than one, not just digital, but do offline stuff as well, if you want to do that. What we're saying is the system is actually what's going to make it more efficient for you. So that's really what I wanted to share as far as my experience with that. The other testimonial to just sticking it out is Emma and I think about a month ago, had a conversation of, and again, this is kind of a more advanced thing, but we were just talking about like open rate and click rate and that kind of thing. And how does that affect your, how does that help you with your marketing? Well, and knowing what's a good number and what's not, that just comes with experience and doing it over and over again, and sometimes trial and error. Like Emma and I were talking about, I'm trying it on this site and seeing what happens. And I'm like, oh, that's a really great idea. This is a great place to try that out on. I'm going to try that too, that kind of thing. So again, it's all part of you, and what are you willing to do to learn more of, to take your business to that next level. So that's really what I wanted to share.
And I think in terms of learning experiences with systems, and mine was that you don't have to be like the techiest person. You don't need to be a computer programmer. You don't need to know this and that and the other. If you can follow simple instructions, watch a video, click the right button, listen, and then anybody can do it. Anybody can do it. The only skill set you really need is to be able to follow simple instructions. That's it. If you can follow instructions, really, then you can get a certain level of success here, because everything that we do is just about listening, watching what other people do and duplicating that. And some things are more challenging than others. I'm not trying to oversimplify it, but if you can watch the videos, do what it says in the videos to create your system, and then listen to how other people are marketing and advertising and talking to people in the conversations they're having, anybody can do it. And I think that changed things for me, because I thought it was going to be super, super complicated, that I was going to need to be like this techno whiz. And in actual fact, when you have a marketing system, you really don't. You really don't. You don't have to be the techiest person alive. You just need to be prepared to take a risk, prepared to put yourself out there, listen to instructions and follow the instructions. That's it, short but sweet, but that was the biggest, most important thing.
Yeah, and for me personally, guys, I love, as you can see, I love hearing these experiences, because I think it's very important that we do share, considering the fact that I know that there are other people who have gone through the same kind of mindset on how, whether or not I want to start marketing. I've had the question over the last few days. At least 4 or 5 people have reached out to me and said, I want to start marketing. How can you help? So it's a very general question. It's a very general answer which I give, and I say, what, there are options, but let's sit on a call and talk about it, because I need to know more what your view is, what your mindset is behind everything. And to be honest, I'm a complete nerd, and I wish I was more techier than I am at the moment when it comes to all these things. And I love analyzing the patterns that are there. So that was for me the most, what charges me up every day is checking my stats and seeing how things are, and if they're not good, how do I make them better, even if I know that for a fact that it's very number focused in my head. But at the end of the day, I know that I need to convert it and translate it. And I think that's the message that's coming out from all of us today. How do you translate something that's, you feel like it's complicated? Because we tend to, as human beings, we tend to overcomplicate things or oversimplify them, depending on how it is. And at the end of the day, it's just how do you translate that? All your life, you go through experiences. How do you translate that to a message for that moment, for the person, for that conversation? And it's the same thing that I realized about myself. I didn't want to speak about the products. That's something that I just eliminated completely from my sales funnels now. I hardly talk about the actual products. I literally try to get them say, what I'm about, skill sets. This is what I want you to learn, because I think it's valuable, and this is the way I see things, and give my point of view, and that's it. And if the person doesn't like my point of view, so be it, and they carry on with their lives, and there's no harm with that as well. To give you guys an example, what I was suffering the most with, and this is an experience or a pain point rather than that I went through, was that there were people reaching out to me, and I was doing everything I can because my focus was on the sale, and this is what we fall into in the beginning. My focus was on the sale, so yes, help, and I was wasting a lot of time because these people were not ready to accept my help. They didn't want to. They just wanted somebody to be there, support them, not be harsh with them, be nice with them, and stuff like that. And it just got to a point where I said no, and that's it. And in fact, with all respect for them, I said, guys, I don't think it's possible. I can't help you here, and that's it. I went on, and after so much time, they still message me till today, and they're still not ready to get started with anything, and that's completely fine. I give them my support in listening. If they send a message to me, I do reply. I keep it short and sweet. I don't waste my time. Keep it short and sweet, and that's it. And this is something that you tend, when we're dealing with human beings at the end of the day. So there is going to be different kind of experiences that we go through to put these things together. But the journey and the translation of that reason why you're started, or why you have the pillars in place, is what actually converts. If, to be honest, that is what converts, not anything else. I wouldn't say the product doesn't convert. It's you.
And once you draw that line and say, you know what, I'm not here to help and support everybody. I'm here to help and support those who are willing to help themselves. That's when you start. That's when the shift starts to happen. But it's a mindset shift in your part first, and then just based on what experiences you've had and what worked for you. Okay, you the mindset of the people that were coming for help from you were never going to ever get started, and you realized that and said, okay, I'm drawing the line. Okay, that's it. And then and I had a similar experience where I basically said, I'm not going to continue helping people that are never going to start, or only going to get this far, and never take any more suggestions than what I've already given them. Once I drew that line, it helped me to actually more clearly define exactly who I do want to work with. And that was a huge shift in not only my mindset, but just in my income and who I was having to come to me, and who I was attracting into reaching out to me about that. And again, it's a process, and every person's time where it takes to get to that point is going to be different. But that's really what this is about you as a business owner taking the bull by the horns and doing what you need to do to get to that point where you clearly define exactly who you want to work with, and you just do that.
I think we've hit the nail on the head, and we might start repeating ourselves if we continue any further with everything else. So, guys, any last thoughts before we conclude? We've been on for about almost an hour, so nothing? Cool. Then, once again, guys, the links to Emma's YouTube is in the description. Renee as well, even Rob, even though he's not here, is in the description, because this all began as a conversation we had as well with him. So we're continuing to do it, and you can find each one, connect with them, whoever you resonate with. We are completely fine with, connect with the person who's got you to this video. If somebody has shared this from anybody who's watching us as well, and they have a plan, please connect with them. Okay. Now we're going to see you next week. We had some time changes in this side of the world, so we got a bit confused last week and this week on timings, but we're all okay. We should be fine for the next few months before the next change again. And we're going to see you next week. Timings are basically 1 p.m., 4 p.m. We just follow us on Facebook, and you'll find the post. I'll link all the timings there, depending on which part of the world you're in. But thank you for watching, guys, who've been on live. And if you have any kind of questions, feel free to just even comment below, and we'll definitely direct you in the right direction. Thank you, guys.